Last night in Gowan Hall, the Young Democrats and the College Republicans debated the Preemptive War Act and also the S-CHIP bill that would provide public health care for school children. The Republicans began with their statement about preemptive strike.
While Democrats are attempting to argue that preemptive strike is never justified to maintain U.S. national security or interests, I intend to show that preemptive strike can be a valuable and advantageous strategy and is one of the many tools and options the United States has to protect itself and maintain a security policy with adequate offense. Preemptive strike is not an attempt to return the world to might makes right or any other generally offensive statement liberals make about America. Since September 11, 2001, aggression has shifted from an outward threat that calls for exterior scrutiny to an internal threat that forces us to examine our security from within and protect our borders to a degree never before demanded. Threats to our national security have become more precarious. Security threats are new and unique, and we need a legitimate tool to address and cope with them.
The Young Democrats were ready with their rebuttal.
Today, the Republicans are not just trying to convince us that, sometimes preemptive strikes are good and are needed. They're trying to convince us that we should adopt a stated policy of preemptive offensives. They're trying to convince us that our country should say, you know what? Yeah, well, we might do diplomacy sometimes, but hey, if you don't agree with us, well, we're going to perceive you as a security threat, and then we have the right to act. And sometimes that action is going to mean bombing your entire country and killing hundreds of thousands of people. A preemptive attack, like my colleague pointed out earlier, is when we attack based on an imminent threat. That's like when you have the right to harm someone and justify it as self-defense when they are going to imminently harm you.
They had a few questions about the U.S. government's current foreign policy.
No one's planning to invade Iran as much as the Democrats might hope.
Dick Cheney is.
Read the news. The boogeyman Dick Cheney's about to invade Iran, okay.
The point is that we are facing different threats, not that it's after September 11th. So a situation like Iran has to be looked at in a different light.
Is there...
We have another debate.
10 seconds. No.
So
we're done.
The Democrats followed with their statement.
I mean, nobody believes that Saddam Hussein had the ability to shoot a nuclear missile at the United States. Nobody believes that he was mobilizing the terrifying Iraqi Navy to invade New Orleans and march on Washington. But if they had, then we probably would have responded. The difference here is between preventive war, which is to prevent a hypothetical attack, which is what Iraq was and what Iran will be if they decide to go to war with them.
And the Republicans followed with their rebuttal.
We're talking about using preemptive force to prevent countries who pose us a threat today, right now, from being able to carry out their threats. That somehow Iraq did not pose a real danger to U.S. national security is just purely is not serious. And that's why, and really this whole debate shows why the American people in every presidential election since 1968, where foreign policy has been an issue, they've chosen the Republican Party over the Democratic Party.
Then the audience got a chance to ask a few questions.
So considering how concerned you guys are about global warming, would you consider a policy like, say, ratifying the Kyoto Treaty to be a preemptive act against global warming?
we are against preventive war that is based on a hypothetical threat such as Iraq.
I'm wondering if you can elaborate how the Cuban Missile Crisis is proof that preemptive war was effective. And in that context, I would like you to consider that Robert McNamara specifically did not call the blockade, which was a blockade because he was worried that the Soviets would take that as a call to war. And so you can elaborate on how that is proof of preemptive success.
To have the willingness to use force in a naval blockade is force. Preemptively, to prevent missiles from going into Cuba and becoming operational and potentially threatening the United States 90 miles off its coast is absolutely a successful case of preemptive force before anything bad had happened in the United States.
Tomorrow's videocast will highlight the debate of the vetoed state children's health insurance program. For the videocast, I'm Shanelle Smith.